Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the hottest Nordic innovations and ventures. In this episode, our venture date is with Capalo AI.
Okay, so today we're gonna dive into something that's pretty essential, I think, in the in the whole world of energy.
Yeah.
And that is how to make sure we are getting the most out of energy storage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both for, kind of the money side of things, but also, for the good of the planet.
For sure. Yeah.
And the company we're looking at today is called Capalo AI.
Okay.
And for this one, we've only used information directly from Capalo AI.
Gotcha.
So we looked at their, About Us section,
Yeah.
some of their case studies, and some news articles as well.
Nice. Yeah.
And essentially what we want to look at is how they're trying to optimize battery energy storage systems.
Wait.
Which, are often shortened to
BESS. Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at this particularly, in the Finnish and European context.
That makes sense.
Because as you know, this is becoming super important in Europe.
It really is. Yeah.
As we transition, to a cleaner energy grid. So for you listening in, our mission is to sort of cut through any of the complexity here and really try and lay out, exactly what Capalo AI is doing.
Right.
And why it matters.
For sure. Yeah.
And we want to do that without getting too bogged down in all the, technical jargon.
Of course. Yeah.
So to kind of kick things off.
Yeah.
I think we should start by thinking about this sort of increasing volatility that we're seeing
Right.
in the electricity market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We have more and more solar and wind power coming online all the time.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But the problem is the amount of electricity they generate is not always predictable.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The sun might not shine, the wind might not blow.
Exactly.
That creates a lot of these ups and downs in the electricity market.
Yeah.
So that's where the VSS come in.
Right.
They're like a shock absorber,
Okay.
for the grid.
Yeah.
Especially in a place like Finland.
Right.
They help ensure a reliable power supply,
Yeah.
even as we lean more heavily on these cleaner energy sources.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seems like the main idea behind Capalo AI is to get as much value as possible out of these energy storage systems.
Absolutely.
And they're doing this through this thing called Capalo Zeus VPP,
Right.
which I guess is like a sort of all-in-one service.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's really comprehensive.
Yeah, it sounds pretty impressive, actually.
It is. It's fascinating, how they've brought so many different pieces together.
Yeah.
I mean, Capalo's ZPP handles everything.
It's
From those initial challenges, like actually getting permission to trade in the energy markets,
Yeah.
all the way through to, using AI
Right.
to optimize trading across the Nordic energy markets.
Yeah. And they do all of that as a single service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just about, getting access to those ancillary markets or the wholesale markets, which can sound pretty confusing to a lot of people. But they also actually act as the balance responsible party.
A what?
The balance responsible party, or BRP.
Okay.
Yeah, for those battery assets.
So what does that actually mean?
Essentially, they're taking on a lot of the responsibility
Right.
to make sure the whole system runs smoothly,
Right.
for the asset owners.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is all powered by their AI.
Exactly.
Mhm.
At the heart of Capalo Zeus VPP
Uh-huh.
are these AI-powered algorithms
Yeah.
that are fully automated,
Okay.
and they're constantly working to optimize trading
Right.
across all the Nordic markets.
Yeah. I mean, makes you wonder how they actually do that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they're using some kind of reinforcement learning,
Okay.
where the AI is constantly refining its strategies based on market outcomes.
Yeah.
Or perhaps it's really good at predicting those short-term price spikes that we see in energy markets.
Right.
It's really cutting-edge stuff.
So when they talk about these different markets, they mention a bunch of acronyms for the ancillary markets.
Right.
Like FFR, FCRD, FCRN, AFRR, and MFRR.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
Can you break down what those actually mean?
Sure. So each of those represents a different kind of service
Okay.
that a battery can provide to keep the electricity system running smoothly.
Okay.
So, for example, you have FFR, which stands for Fast Frequency Reserve.
Right.
You can think of the grid like an engine.
Okay.
And FFR is what kicks in if the frequency dips suddenly,
Okay.
to bring it back up to speed.
I see.
Batteries are really good at providing this really rapid response.
Okay.
And then you have all these other acronyms,
Yep.
FCRD, FCRN, AFR, MFRR.
Right.
They all represent these other vital services,
Okay.
like different speeds of frequency control
Right.
or reserves to handle imbalances in the grid.
So Capalo AI basically tries to play in all of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're active in all the relevant ancillary markets.
Okay. And on top of that, they're also active in the wholesale markets,
That's right.
specifically the intraday and spot markets.
Yeah.
Could you give us a quick explanation of those?
Yeah, so the spot market is where electricity is typically bought and sold for delivery the next day.
Right.
It's like the main marketplace.
Yeah.
And then the intraday market is more about making adjustments closer to real time,
Okay.
even within the same day.
Right.
So it's like if you've ordered too much milk for tomorrow,
Okay.
the intraday market lets you sell off the excess today before it goes bad.
I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And this is where Capalo AI's claim of being the Nordic's fastest intraday trader is really interesting.
Right.
It means their algorithms are super quick
Yeah.
at spotting and acting on those opportunities
Right.
when prices change unexpectedly.
So their AI is always working
Yeah,
to find the best way to make money in all these different markets.
that's right.
Right.
It's not just about what's happening right now,
Yeah.
but also about anticipating what the market will look like in the future.
Right. And they do that both for now and for, further down the line.
Exactly. It's a very dynamic system.
Okay.
It's not just a set of static rules.
Right.
It's constantly learning and adapting
Yeah.
to changing market conditions and regulations.
Okay. So let's dig into some of the key services
Sure.
that Capalo AI offers.
Yeah.
And the first one they list is route to market,
Right.
which sounds like it's about helping battery assets, actually get permission to trade.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So route to market is about navigating all the regulations.
Right.
And
right.
meeting all the technical requirements
Okay.
to participate in each of these markets.
Gotcha.
So Capalo AI basically takes on that responsibility
Yeah.
for the asset owner.
Right.
They handle all the pre-qualifications and paperwork.
Yeah.
So the batteries can just get up and running
Okay.
and start trading right away.
That makes sense. And then there's that claim about being the Nordic's fastest intraday trader.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
It implies their algorithms are incredibly fast.
Right.
They can make decisions in a split second
Okay.
to capitalize on those really short-lived price swings
Yeah.
that happen in the intraday market.
So it's all about speed.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
If the price of electricity jumps suddenly,
Yeah.
their system can identify that and act on it before anyone else.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we have the BRP service.
Right.
So are they guaranteeing?
Yeah, in a way.
Okay. Wow.
So as the BRP, Capalo AI is essentially responsible
Yeah.
for making sure the amount of electricity going in and out of the batteries
Okay.
is balanced with what was agreed upon with the grid operator.
Gotcha.
If there's an imbalance, there could be penalties.
Right.
So it's a pretty big responsibility.
Yeah. So they're handling all of that
Exactly.
for the asset owner.
Yeah, they take that whole complex logistical and financial responsibility
Wow.
for the asset owner's plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they also talk about forecasts for all markets.
Yeah, forecasts are absolutely essential,
Right.
for intelligent trading decisions.
Right. Because you need to know what's going to happen
Exactly.
to decide, when to buy and when to sell.
Precisely.
Right.
So Capalo AI forecasts prices and demand
Okay.
in all these different markets,
Right.
both those immediate ancillary markets
Yeah.
and the broader wholesale markets.
Okay.
And that allows them to make really smart choices about when and where to deploy the battery's energy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the heart of all of this is the AI optimized trading.
Right. This is where their proprietary algorithms really come into play.
Yeah. What kind of AI are we talking about here?
It's probably a combination of different techniques.
Okay.
So they might be using predictive analytics
Yeah.
to forecast market prices and demand.
Okay.
And then they probably use optimization algorithms to decide the best trading strategy based on those forecasts.
Gotcha.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they're also using machine learning,
Okay.
where the system actually learns from past market behavior
Right.
to constantly improve its predictions and trading decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's pretty amazing what they can do,
It is.
analyzing huge amounts of data
Yeah.
and finding those profitable opportunities
Yeah.
in real time.
It's not something you could do manually.
Definitely not at that scale.
Right.
Sure.
And then finally, they mention future-proof trading strategies.
Right.
So it seems like their systems are always learning.
Exactly.
Right.
They're not just set in stone.
Right.
So as the energy market changes,
Yeah.
with new regulations, shifting demand patterns, more renewables coming online,
Right.
these AI systems are designed to learn from that new data
Okay.
and adjust their strategies accordingly.
So they can stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's all about adaptability. Yeah.
Right. So for someone listening to this, what's the takeaway?
Well, I think the main thing to remember is that we're in the middle of a huge shift
Yeah.
to a cleaner energy future.
Right.
And BESS are a fundamental part of that.
Okay.
They're essential for making renewable energy sources like solar and wind truly reliable.
Right. They're like the missing piece.
Exactly.
Right.
They can store that excess clean energy
Yeah.
when it's plentiful
Okay.
and release it when we need it.
Gotcha.
Smoothing out those natural fluctuations
Yeah.
and making sure we have a consistent supply of clean power.
But as we've seen, it's not enough to just have the batteries.
Right. You need to operate them intelligently
Yeah.
and profitably.
Right.
And that's where companies like Capalo AI come in.
Okay.
They're making sure that these batteries are being used as effectively as possible,
Yeah.
both for the financial benefit of the owners
Right.
and for the greater good of the grid.
And they do that through this turnkey service.
Exactly.
Yep.
Capalo Zeus VPP.
Yeah, it seems like a really smart approach.
It is. It's very efficient.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to piece together different providers,
Right.
you get everything you need in one package.
And they're using AI and machine learning.
Yeah, which gives them a real competitive edge.
Right. So it's not just hype.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
There are some really impressive results.
Yeah, let's look at some of these examples.
Sure.
So first we have Nordic,
Right.
which is Ardian's operating partner in the Nordics.
Yeah.
And they have this big 38.5 or 38 milliard asset.
Okay.
And Eero Oran, who's the chairman of Nordic,
Right.
is quoted as saying that they partnered with Capalo AI
Yeah.
to maximize the profitability and impact of this asset for Finnish grid resilience.
It's a perfect example of how Capalo AI is helping companies,
Yeah.
generate strong returns
Yeah.
while also making the grid more stable.
Right. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
Then we have MW Storage,
Okay.
which has multiple BESS West projects.
Right.
And their goal is to maximize the value of our projects for our investors, transmission system operators, and society.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
It's not just about profit.
Yeah.
It's about creating value for the whole energy ecosystem
Right.
and pushing the clean energy transition forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We also have Taleri Energia,
Okay.
which has a 36 milliwatt asset.
Right.
And they're using Capalo AI to ensure that their BS investment
Yeah.
will be utilized optimally on an hour-to-hour basis
I see.
to increase the share of renewable energy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so they're really focused on making renewables work.
Absolutely.
Right.
They want to make sure that batteries are being used as efficiently as possible
Yeah.
to help balance the grid
Right.
and make renewable energy more reliable.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Then there's Lampalin Energia,
Okay.
which has a smaller 4 milliW, 3 milliwatt asset.
Right.
And their CEO, Mikko Katunen, talks about how hard it is
Yeah.
to consistently find the right bidding strategy in a volatile market.
It's a big challenge,
It is.
especially for a smaller company.
Yeah, so Capalo AI is giving them access
Right.
to this really sophisticated AI-powered optimization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't be able to do on their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have Exilion,
Right.
which is one of Capalo AI's first customers.
Right.
And they have a 6.6 milliW asset.
Gotcha.
And they've managed to significantly increase the profitability of flexible assets.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's not just talk.
Yeah.
They have real results.
Real results.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to something else that's important, which
Sure.
is data privacy.
Of course.
So we looked at Capalo AI's privacy policy,
Yeah.
and they state that they are the data controller.
Right. So what that means is that they're responsible
Okay.
for determining how and why your personal data is processed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they say that they process data based on things like
Right.
contractual agreements, user consent, and to make sure that their services are available
Of course.
to personalize your experience
Right.
and to communicate with you.
Yeah. Makes sense.
They also use cookies on their website.
Yeah, most websites do these days.
Right.
Those small files that websites store on your computer
Yeah.
to remember information about you,
Right.
your preferences.
Yeah.
So Capalo AI uses them to improve the user experience.
Okay.
But they do say that you can manage your cookie preferences.
Right.
if you want to.
Okay. And importantly, they also outline the rights
Yes.
that individuals have under data protection law.
Absolutely.
So you have the right to access the data they hold about you,
Right.
the right to correct any mistakes,
Yeah.
the right to have your data deleted in certain situations,
Oh.
the right to limit how they process your data,
Right.
to object to processing,
Yeah.
the right to move your data elsewhere,
Gotcha.
the right to complain to a regulatory body,
Okay.
and the right to withdraw your consent.
Yeah. That's a pretty comprehensive list.
It is.
But it's important to remember
Yeah,
that this is just a summary.
right.
If you want to learn more, you should read their full privacy policy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone who wants to learn more about Capalo AI,
Yeah.
they have a general contact email address,
Okay.
which is info@capaloai.com.
Right.
And they also list their office locations in Kuopio and Helsinki in Finland.
Right.
And if you want to stay updated,
Yeah.
they have a newsletter sign up on their website.
Perfect.
So to sum it all up,
Yeah.
we've seen that Capalo AI is really focused on making the most of BESS,
Absolutely.
in the Nordic energy markets.
Yeah.
And they have this really interesting turnkey solution called Capalo Zeus VPP
Right.
that uses AI to optimize everything.
It's a really comprehensive approach.
It is.
They handle everything from market access to automated trading.
Yeah, and it seems like their main goals
Yeah.
are to make sure that these battery assets are profitable.
Yeah, and that they're helping to move us towards a cleaner energy future.
Absolutely.
So hopefully you now have a better understanding of what Capalo AI is doing
For sure.
and why it matters.
Yeah. It's a fascinating area.
It is. I mean, it really makes you think about what other innovations
Right.
we might see in the future.
Yeah.
As we rely more and more on renewable energy
Absolutely.
and as we need to make sure that the grid is reliable.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.